Erika Kirk, the wife of slain conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, is reportedly invoking a rare Utah law that could speed up the trial of Tyler Robinson, her husband's accused killer. I'm joined by Tré Goins-Phillips. We're going to break that story down. Erika Kirk, the wife of slain conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, is reportedly invoking a rare Utah law that could speed along the trial of Tyler Robinson, her husband's accused killer. Now, this is an interesting case because Utah code apparently allows for this. Usually it's the defendant who has the right and the ability to a fair trial. Obviously, that still stands under the Constitution. But I'm going to read a quote here, and then I want to get reaction from Tré Goins-Phillips. This is a quote in a legal document from Jeffrey Neiman. He's an attorney for Erika Kirk. He wrote in part, "The Utah Code affords victims of a crime the right to a speedy disposition of the charges, free from unwarranted delay caused by or at the behest of the defendant." Now, Tré, this is interesting because Utah is one of the few states that has this victims' rights protection. What was your reaction to seeing that Erika Kirk had invoked this?
Well, I mean, it's not surprising, right? And that Utah has this law, as you said. Why would she not seek to invoke it, especially when, of course, I mean, her husband was horrifically assassinated in front of the entire country. So it's trauma, whether it's a well-known person or not. But then when it becomes somebody as high profile as Charlie Kirk, the trauma of having to kind of relive this day in and day out as she's awaiting a trial for the prosecution of her husband's alleged assassin, that has to be just unfathomable, not to mention the conspiracy theories, right, that we've covered here at CBN News that are being lobbed at Erika Kirk, at TPUSA, at all kinds of different people right now. So I think it's just adding insult to injury. So it's not a surprise that Erika is going to want to pull any lever she possibly can to get this case to move along. And look, this is something that Americans want an answer to, Billy, right? I mean, we don't want to continue waiting. This is one of the most horrific incidents. I'm 33. I had to think about it for a second, but this is one of the most horrific incidents that's happened in my lifetime, and I don't want to wait. So I can't imagine the place that Erika Kirk is in, knowing that it was, of course, her husband who was slain in front of all of us.
You know, it is really interesting to think that obviously we want to live in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty, and constitutionally we have the ability to a fair trial. When you're a defendant in a case and you're being accused of something like this, you want to have that fairness, but we often don't think, and I've dealt with a lot, and I know you have too over the years, of people who are victims, right? Erika Kirk and her family, you mentioned the conspiracy theories. I'll come back to that in a minute. But the fact that you have a victim who has had to watch this crime happen on an international stage, who has to endure this, that these victims are put through the ringer. And if there's a perception that a defendant is trying to delay their case in not a timely resolution, they're trying to delay the court proceedings, that person should also have a right to a speedy trial as a victim, that they don't have to endure this for years and years and years. And so whether or not this applies here, I've seen some commentary about this on Fox News and other places, whether or not this applies, some have said it's an astute move because it shows that, hey, people are watching, right? Even if this doesn't really work, invoking this. But I think the point is nobody should be forced as a victim to be dragged through the mud. And to your point, when you talk about those conspiracy theories, I think people need to see the evidence so that some of this can just end. The chaos, the consternation, the pressure around this case that has been so horrific, so unfair on so many levels to watch, that adds another layer to this, that a speedy trial will actually help, hopefully, at least for some people or the majority, alleviate.
Well, and I think too, the sooner we get answers, the better for any number of reasons. But I think probably one of the most pressing reasons, Billy, is the longer this festers and stays at a high boiling point, the greater chance there is of another incident, right? I'm not saying another assassination, but more violence, protesting, people getting angry online, and that turning into some form of actual violence. And I think that's something that has to be considered. So as you said, whether this is something legally, this lever that she's pulled, if it legally works or not, we don't know. But hopefully it will at least put some pressure on the Utah justice system. And one other interesting thing that I want to make a note of, because it's not something, I don't live in Utah, it's not something that I would have really known had we not been looking into this story. But Judge Tony Graff, he's the judge presiding over Tyler Robinson's prosecution. He has 1,200 cases that he alone is presiding over in this 2026 calendar year, which is incredible. It's 16% higher than the average rate. And overall, the state of Utah in its entirety is trying 11,000 cases this year. So their system is certainly strained and stretched. But you would think, to your point, a case like this, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the alleged assassin's prosecution, you would think that that would kind of be at the top of the list of cases that need to be tried.
Yeah. Well, I think the country certainly needs to move forward, and a lot of commentators need to be maybe, given the information they need to ease some of the claims that they're making. And so we'll see where this goes next. But one thing just to close out on, because I think this is important, that we're praying for the Kirk family as they deal with this, that we're praying for Erika, her children. This has been a really horrific few months, and this is not going to be easy to go through this trial, no matter how speedy it is. But again, that's a reason to move it along so that it's not dragged out. So let's all be in prayer for that family. That's all for today's Newsmakers. Make sure you head on over to the CBN News YouTube channel and cbnnews.com for more of the news you need to read. We'll see you again tomorrow.